Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Finn React. Michael here today, another tier list. Now, sometimes a tier list can be scary. Sometimes a tier list can bring fear to the person. However, we're going off a classic of Saw. And what's the one thing that everyone's a fan of when it comes to Saw? The traps. Forget the plot, forget the characters. We just need to know about the traps. So, of course, they added 78 traps to this thing, including every single Saw, including Saw X and Spiral. And we're going to dignify of where I feel these traps belong. From game over as impossible to beat, or you call that a test. So let's begin with the original of Saw, which is the first one, the bathroom trap with Dr. Gordon and Adam. Now, there were many ways you can probably pass this test, but they made it very difficult. And unfortunately, it resulted in an amputation of good old Dr. Gordon. To me, it's a classic. It shows where the game begins. So I would say originally it's a original Kill Me Now. But there's the only reason I don't go higher, because there are ways you can actually, avoid not getting killed in this thing. Next, we go to the razor wire maze, the first ever trap talked about. Now, the concept is very simple. You're basically in a maze, and you have to get out, but it's covered with so much barbed wire. Now, it's very easy the ways you can win it, but our lovely friend faced paranoia, kept cutting himself, eventually got tangled, entwined, and became caught in Saw's first ever trap. So, I will say, you can break the rules. I would say there's probably ways you could do it, but I don't know. Flammable jelly. Now, our lovely friend here had to face some trouble. Beyond the wall, there were codes to open up a lock, a safe, to get whatever they had. However, you were also sick, and also you had a candle made out of flammable jelly that will burn you. And also, you're walking on razor glass. That's a lot of things to screw yourself over. Now, unfortunately, our friend didn't make it because, well, there was really no way he was going to survive. Unfortunately. But, sometimes. The reverse bear trap, the first ever one by our lovely protagonist, evil antagonist, Amanda. Now, this to me is a forever scarred trap. Now, Amanda successful in it because, well, the key was in the person next to her, thinking they were dead. However, he wasn't, and he faced the consequence. For me, we're going to see probably this bear trap more often with the others. So, let's continue on with, well, the drill chair trap. Not really, I would say, a trap for... Not really, I would say, call that a trap. That's more like a hostage takeover. Shotgun hallway. Once again, I don't think that's really a test. It's more of a, he walked down the steps, he tripped a wire, bam. He got his face destroyed. Zeb's test for the original assault. Now, Zeb's concept was very simple. He had to kill Dr. Gordon's parents. His wife and his kid. Clearly, that did not work. So what did he do? He went back to the place with Dr. Gordon, attempting to kill Dr. Gordon only to be smashed with a toilet bowl cover from good old Adam. See, there are ways you could probably break that trap, but unfortunately, not a lot of people survived. Now we're going to go to Saw 2, with the first one being the death mask. The last thing no one wants to do is cut their eye open to get a key. One of the things, one of the most squeamish feels, because you know what? I think it was worse trying to cut than to actually the consequence of the nails going through his skull and becoming a human puncture wound. But yeah, that's kind of scary. Electrified staircase. I once again don't consider this a trap, more like walked in at the wrong timing. The nerve gas house trap. Oh boy. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things. The concept of it, you had traps inside a real trap. So kind of you're working around, you know, what you got. I would have to say you could probably break, you could probably forever being scarred because of nerve gas going to your system. You're having that fear in the back of your head. Also trying to find the syringe and the cure. It's also, that's the problem too. But overall, the concept of the nerve gas house was smart. Magnum eye hole, once again, as much as it was a trap, it was a unsuccessful trap. Our buddy Gus suffered a consequence of realizing sticking your eye into a keyhole with a guy pulling the key and hearing a revolving gun going through is not the best idea to keep your eye on. Could have at least stayed out of the background, told everyone to move to the side, but nope. Xavier and Gus are idiots. The furnace trap. This scares the shit out of me for our good friend Obby, or Obi. Mostly Obby. Obby was the reason how these guys made it to the nerve gas house. So, of course, it cringes me because the last thing I want to see. However, there was a lot of ways you can actually avoid this trap. But unfortunately, nothing worked. Needle pit. Okay. I will say this. It's whenever it scares me too. Needles are a little cringy. So, falling into a pit to find the key with the syringe to open the door. Meanwhile, digging in. Not what I want to do. As much as I don't mind getting my blood drawn for health reasons, going to a pit full of dirty needles, not my idea, T. So, no. Now, Saw 2 didn't have any really great traps. Example, other than the Magnum eye hole, we had the razor box. Probably the worst trap and worst idiot to actually do this test. Because there was one solution. Stick one hand in, use the other to pull out the hand with the razor so you don't cut yourself and then get yourself caught. So Amanda deserved it for being, not Amanda, whatever her name is, Addison. You're an idiot. And we're finally done. We're going to Saw 3. Probably one of the few great traps that we have. So, classroom trap, I will have to say that was a game over from the get-go. There was no way that this guy was surviving, because as much as you rip off the ones you have on your foot and your hand, the one in your jaw was the one that cringed a lot of people. Plus you have a nail bomb, so plus the door didn't open, so yeah, you were kind of screwed there. And that was set up by our lovely friend Amanda, which brings up another trap designed by Amanda, the angel trap. Honestly, there was no way for her to survive that one as well, because, well, our detective did not see the fate of, surviving. Basically, your ribs are caught, and if you lose, basically, the chains pull up, your ribs are caught. And meanwhile, you're sticking your hand into acid trying to get a key. Once again, these traps were impossible to win, and, of course, our detective fell forward to the traps of Amanda. Shotgun collar trap. Alright, well, the lovely doctor, Lynn did not have an easy day at the office, which was to take care of Kramer. Meanwhile, she messes up, Amanda can blow her head right off. And unfortunately, Lynn did not survive because, well, of all the chaos that happened. So, I guess you could say you could break the rules and, bend the rules scenario out. But, oh boy, now we're going to go with the Jeff tests. The Jeff test to determine if Jeff can actually move as fast as he humanly possible. And of course, he failed at most of it. Alright, the freezer room trap. Unfortunately, he could have just walk away. He could just simply walk away. Instead of going into a fridge that was probably negative something degrees Celsius. And that was mostly skin ripping damage. And unfortunately, she didn't survive because Jeff was so slow. The pig vat. To be honest, I think you can probably break the rules with this one. It's very simple. You can even help the guy. Just, what? Your kid's stuff is that important? The lawyer, you know what? He screwed you. Let him suffer. I say break the rules. Let the guy suffer. And now we bring on to one of the traps I don't like because it was cringeworthy to watch. The rack trap. One of the best traps of Saw. Fight me about it. Unfortunately, the rack trap was not good for our lovely friend who was the one that actually killed Jeff's kid. Not intentionally, but everything about it was bad and troubling. You had hands and legs and head twisting. You also had to pull out a key. Meanwhile, the key's connected to a shotgun thing. What happened? Jeff found a way to get the key off in somewhat time. Not really much, but blows the same judge who was saved off the fat trap. So he was going to suffer one way or another. Did not like that test. Amanda tests. I think Amanda's test was simple just to make sure that Lynn survived. And of course, I don't really consider that a test. It was just Amanda's stupidity that cost her life. Jeff's final test was basically do not go through the area, which would uncover Lynn to be dead, Jeff to kill Kramer, and also killing Amanda at the same time, but also losing everything all at once. So, slow Jeff suffered, and he's forever scared because everything happened if he had just not walked in. Saw 4, one of the least, I would say not the least favorite traps of most people. Not a lot of people like Saw 4. I think after Saw 4 and 5, it was starting to get a little ridiculous. So, the first trap they had was the Musalem trap. Or Mausoleum. I don't know how you pronounce it, but basically you had see no evil versus speak no evil. Basically, one guy was stitched up to his eyes, the other was stitched out to his mouth. The plot of that one is very simple. You're fighting with the other person to get out of it. And luckily, Art Blank survived because he basically beat the crap out of the guy, so there was no way to really break that rule. One person was going to die, and unfortunately, it wasn't Art Blank. And now we got the Jeff traps. First of all, we got Scalping Seat. All he had to do was just, well, he didn't know the woman. Why are you helping someone that you don't know? And not knowing at the end, she was trying to kill him. And she ended up dying. Okay, I will say the bedroom trap, though, was forever scarring because, well, the last thing no one wants to see is a little tiny scythe going to someone's eye. No thank you. The spike trap, I will say, is the funniest thing ever because the fact that the woman was able to survive because the spikes were at spots that she was not going to suffer in. Meanwhile, the guy who was behind him, the asshole, excuse my voice scratch, well, suffered because every other spike that was in his side were basically killable. So unfortunately she survived. So, well, I mean, you really can't call that a test. Basically is let the woman survive and let the guy suffer. Explosive puppet, once again, I don't consider those traps. I just consider it detectives making stupid mistakes and unfortunately got a bunch of scars all over their face. So, yeah. Knife chair. One of Jigsaw's first traps. Now, the last thing someone wants to do is, well, try to hit a button using their face with knives grinding on their face. Unfortunately, it was a failed trap because it wasn't set up right. However, well, you end up falling into a pit of barbed wire, and that brought up the barbed wire trap. I am forever scared because you know what? Scarred because I don't ever want that to happen to me or my enemies. Okay, well, unfortunately the last two traps for Saw 4 didn't really work well with, well, first Art Blank, because the trap for his, well, didn't really go off because Officer Rig killed him, so we didn't really get to see anything, so I don't really consider it a trap. It was kind of like an unfortunate situation. Though the ice block trap, I will have to say, was a pretty intense, because the last thing someone wants to see is someone's head get splattered with two big blocks of ice. No thank you. Alright. Next we have, well, Saw 5. One of the worst Saws out there. My opinion. Pendulum trap, I will have to say, unfortunately, is a game over trap. For many reasons. A, there was no way this guy was going to survive because it was rigged. B, even if he did do the whole goal was to break all his fingers, it didn't work. And unfortunately, Officer Hoffman really wanted this guy dead, so unfortunately, we had to watch it. And many of us were traumatized. The water cube. Unfortunately, I would have to say, honestly, it was a breaking the rules because he survived. He did open tracheotomy. I can't say the words. Basically, he took a pen to his trachea, stabbed it, pulled it off. Basically, he was able to breathe with water going in. So, he survived. He's one of the few that survived in the Saw era. Amazing. Shotgun chair. Well, I don't really consider it a test because it was basically, is Officer Hoffman able to withstand Jigsaw's games, and unfortunately, we did see them working out with each other. Now, I will have to admit, the next couple traps, I'm really just honestly going to call them breaking the rules. Necktie trap, let's think about it. Simply, one person could just break it, give the key to everyone, so everyone survives, but of course, egos played a big role. There are ways you could break that thing in general. The ceiling jar trap, once again. Stupid trap because, you know what? The only way, those things were big enough for 2 people. Don't fight with each other. Get a key. Someone go in a hole. Everyone survives. Electric bathtub, I don't think you... Once again, there was ways you could probably break it. But it was just egos and people suffering because of it. 10 pint of sacrifice. Well, I hate giving blood enough. So, you know what? The only way they both are going to survive is, well, simply splitting it up. 5 pint each. Slice it up. And give that blood. Now, for me, I will put the glass coffin as a forever scarred. Because, well, you know what? The last thing Dr. Gordon Hoffman wanted to see was, well, Strom dying by getting split between 2 walls. All he had to do with Strom was just go into the glass chamber, but of course he didn't. So, unfortunately, he suffered. Saw 6. Well, at least it was not as bad as the last 2, but pound of flesh. Yeah. No, I would never want to do this at all. Basically, the concept was it was a big guy versus a little girl, and whoever gave the most amount of flesh would not get their head screwed completely. Unfortunately, our buddy here, as much as he was giving fat off like I could do with it in my own stomach, sometimes it takes a hand just to win. The oxygen crusher. Now, these tests were kind of weird, like my dog randomly walking around for some reason. Honestly, there are ways you can... I think it was... The last thing someone wants to do is hold their breath and try to suffer. But unfortunately, our janitor here, well, suffered because, well, being a smoker, he had to take major breaths, and those stone plates were just about to crush him completely. So, okay. The gallows trap. Honestly, the last thing someone wants to do is have barbed wire around their neck, and it's scary. Unfortunately, our lovely friend here had 2 choices. A guy who is basically not going to be loved for the rest of his life versus a woman with a family. Can't you tell who won and who suffered? Watch the movie. Alright. The steam maze trap. Unfortunately, there's a lot of wins and losses. Well, let's think. The last thing someone wants to do is, well, get blasted with hot steam. No thank you. So, unfortunately, I would have to put that as a... You could probably break the rules at this point. Alright. Shotgun carousel. Unfortunately for that one, only 2 were going to survive, so honestly, it was just, kill me now, because you know what? You better be lucky to be one of the 2 that survive. Otherwise, that stomach is going to have a big hole from the shotgun. Acid Room. The ending of this movie was very interesting. The mother didn't want to do it, but her son was pissed off and said, "You know what? You killed my father, motherfucker." And basically, his body got split in half, basically hanging like a Mortal Kombat character. So, yeah, there was no way of surviving that. Bear Trap 2.0 came back for a second time. Unfortunately, Hoffman was caught in this by Jill Tucker. Now, he did actually survived, and he did the smartest thing. Put it between the bars of the door. It opens. All you had to do was slide right off. So, he did break the rules and survived. Public Execution. Now, Saw 3D to me was a mix of feels. It was alright. I've seen worse. Why is this movie in a 3D vibe? Okay, so first off we have Public Execution. Basically was two guys battling for this cheating girl who basically sealed their own fate. So you have two options. You either fight with one another to get to her heart, or question to one another and question her loyalty and see where it goes. So there's many ways you can probably break the rules with this trap. Pain Trial or Train. Well, this is off of one of few alternative music artist, Chester Bennington. Rest in peace. His concept is very simple: to pull the brake, because if he wasn't going to suffer, everyone else was going to at one point. The girl and the two guys, they basically got destroyed because he had no time to do it. So, bye-bye. I should put it higher for game over. Oh, not yet. No, it's game over. Because unfortunately, Chester Bennington did pass away. So, Horsepower Trap. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I got them confused. Horsepower Trap was Chester Bennington. Pain Train was Jill Tucker's dream. So it wasn't, that to me wasn't a test. That was just a nightmare. Lawnmower Trap. I will honestly put that down as you called it trap because, well, the problem with that trap, we really never... Hold on a sec. I'm trying to make this list a little bit easier to read. So, the problem with the lawnmower trap, we only got a glimpse of it. It would have been better if you put that in one of the movies so we have a better understanding. But unfortunately, we didn't. Suspended cage, once again, I don't call it a test. It's more of, if you can avoid getting impaled, you survive. Silent Circle. Well, that one I would have to say is traumatizing to watch. Because she wasn't going to survive. Because the key was connected to a string that is down her system. So he had to pull the string to unlock the key. But unfortunately, she didn't survive because basically she got impaled. And it was the magical words that he said to this woman. Why would you just shut the fuck up? Thank you very much, editor. Impalement Wheel. Now, to me, this one sucked in a way because, well, those workout equipment pieces suck if you're doing heavy workout stuff. But all you had to do was hold it and get stabbed. So, there's ways that you can survive that test, but unfortunately, the mouth and the eyes did not see what was coming her way, so she suffered. Hangman Noose. Honestly, I think the problem was that you could have broke the rules with this thing many, many times, but it never, ever got through because its friend's a moron. Wisdom Teeth. Oh, no. Nope. I am forever scarred watching that because I had to watch that and I had to cover my eyes because the last thing I want to see is pulling my wisdom teeth for a code. Not today. Brazen Bull. Honestly, there was no way anyone was going to survive that. Next time, if you're going to write a book and you're going to make up a trap that you were stuck in, make it something that you actually can get away with instead that your wife suffered and got burnt to shit out of because of you. Okay, now we got a lot of other ridiculous ones. Sentry Gun Trap. Why do I not remember that one? Okay, so I had to really look up these two traps because I don't really remember them. And I don't call them traps. I just call them going into the wrong room at the wrong timing. Because basically, any detective that was caught in that situation died. So, it's, well, unfortunate fate for these guys, but they're not really traps. Okay, the Bear Trap 3.0. Jill Tucker fate was destroyed once she got caught in the bear trap. So, we actually got to see the consequence of it, and yeah, there was no way. Basically, Hoffman screwed her big time. And now we are going to the, I would have to say, the Saw rebounds. With first, Jigsaw. I have mixed feels about Jigsaw, but the traps weren't that bad. Okay, so first off, you had the bucket room. Basically, everyone was tied to a piece of chain. In order to pass through, you had to give a little bit of a nick on a buzzsaw. So, people were smart, and either you would do a little prick of the finger, or do your back, and at least if you have a thick back, your back will be fine. So, there's a lot of ways you can break the rules. Chain hanger Jigsaw. Now, well, I just said the title of the game. Okay, anyway. Basically, the concept is that there was 3 needles. 2 of them had a chemical that can kill you, and 1 had an antidote. Unfortunately, our lovely friend here, well, didn't survive because the guy was an idiot and stabbed her with every single needle at the same time. So she basically got burnt to death. But there are ways you could probably break that rule, but, we don't need to talk about those traps. Leg wire and grand silo trap, I could probably put them together because they're both a combo. To be honest, I would have to put that as a forever scarred because the guy who had the leg wire basically got his leg cut off. And it's an unfortunate shame. And the grand silo, never been to silo, but I heard that you can suffer by being stuck in there, so I'm not going to go in one. The circle trap, okay, that one was scary. I will admit, that one was a little bit of a... No. So even if he did somehow survived, it basically backfired and he became a skinless fool. Shouldn't have give Kramer nephew the motorcycle without the part there, buddy. Shotgun Jigsaw. I will have shotgun keys. I think it was scary because it actually admitted more truth beyond the girl. But honestly, I would have to bring that back to a breaking the rules because, well, before you shoot somebody, why don't you, investigate on these things that you're being given. Laser Collar Jigsaw, one of my favorite ones from the movie because, well, unfortunately, the evil man himself suffered because he got played by the other detective, and it looked like a Mortal Kombat fatality, so give credit where it's due. Now we're going to Spiral. You know, when you think of a movie and you think, we're going to get an actor who is more fit in comedy to act serious. Unfortunately, that didn't work. With the subway trap, there are probably thousands of ways you can break the rules and actually survive that. So, unfortunately, this detective didn't really think about that. Same thing with the finger traps. There's ways of not surviving, ways not to get electrocuted, things that would benefit you at the end. However, we learned that some people aren't safe for these things. The wax trap, I think, it's a little scary because, you know what? Last thing someone wants to see is their face covered in wax and it building up to the point where suffocation was the consequence. Okay, I will admit the glass grinder is not really a test. Well, technically it's a test, but there are thousands of ways you can make your friend survive without getting killed. So, yeah. This list is now we got one more. Marcus Banks test. Well, unfortunately, there was no way of, I don't call it a test because basically there's a way that works out for you and a way that doesn't work out for you. Unfortunately, someone that can manipulate police calls and all that really put a big effect on a lot of people. Alright. I Vacuum from Saw X. Now, the movie was alright, but the traps were very brutal in many ways. So, this guy basically had a minute for something to break, or else, well, his eyes were going to be sucked up in just like that. So, nope, I'm not dealing with that one. Pipe bomb trap. I don't remember much about the pipe bomb trap. I need to look this one up. Okay, I figure out what it was. I had to remember this stuff. So, the taxi driver who had an idea about what was going on had his hands connected to pipe bombs. And the only way he could do it was his hand in the front had scalpels to cut the right wires. Unfortunately, he didn't survive. He survived, so to me, you're going to be forever scarred because basically your hands got destroyed. Okay. Wire saw. That was a little cringy to watch. Because at the end of it, she did not survive, and that doctor beside her did nothing. Brain surgery. Nope. Game over. I know that the whole point you're trying to find pieces of your brain to have fixed, but you know what? You went away with a mask. You can't go wrong without a mask. Alright. Radiation trap. Okay, now with that one. Unfortunately, she survived. But she got killed by her own doctor, so I felt bad. And of course, well, we're going about the end. The blood boarding trap. Basically, Jigsaw got himself a scenario. Having a competition with a kid, for some reason, of who drowned in blood first. Unfortunately, Jigsaw was 5 steps ahead, so there are ways you could probably break that, so I'll put it as a breaking the rules. Which now leads us to two more. The gas chamber, which unfortunately the other doctors didn't survive because the other one's a crazy bitch. And honestly, there was no way to actually escape from that, but so that's more of a punishment. And disembowelment was the end credit, and that brought Dr. Hoffman back again. So, forever scarred because he led Kramer to suffer. And to me, looking at this list, let's just take a peek what we got. So, I wouldn't change anything I see, but what was your favorite trap, guys? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions on more of a tier list, let me know in the comments below. Give a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is Michael, signing out.